Welcome to this explainer. We're doing a deep dive into a really powerful behavioral change framework from Growth Systems Daily. And I'm going to hit you with something right out of the gate. 92% of people who make resolutions fail, just completely fail. But here is what I find absolutely fascinating. The 8% who actually succeed, they are not tougher than you, they aren't smarter, and they definitely aren't walking around with some magical, endless supply of motivation.
When you really think about that staggering failure rate, it's easy to assume that if we just pushed a little harder or maybe had a bit more discipline, we could somehow force our way into that tiny 8% slice. But that's a total myth. The reality is that the people in that 8% are doing something structurally different from everyone else. They have completely different frameworks operating in the background of their lives.
So what exactly is that structural difference? Well, we're going to break it down into 3 specific contrasts today. And honestly, once you see what it is, you literally cannot unsee it. It's like suddenly getting X-ray vision into your own behavioral patterns, and you'll immediately recognize exactly why certain things haven't been working for you. Let's get right into it. Okay, contrast number 1, identity over behavior. This right here is the foundation of the entire 8% rule.
Here's the common approach. Most of us try to change what we do. We hyper-focus on the action itself. But the reason this fails, the actual mechanism behind the failure, is that trying to force a new behavior requires constant, exhausting, conscious effort. You're basically fighting your own self-image every single day. The successful 8% take a completely different structural route. They don't just change what they do, they fundamentally change who they are.
Think about the phrasing here. It brilliantly illustrates the shift. It's the difference between saying, I'm trying to exercise, versus I am someone who moves their body every day. One is just a task. It's a chore on a to-do list that's super easy to blow off when you're tired. But the other is a core identity. And that distinction is absolutely crucial because an identity is incredibly sticky. Why? Because it activates automatically every single time you're faced with a choice. If you're just trying to exercise, you have to mentally debate whether or not to go to the gym today. But if your identity is I'm someone who moves, the decision is already made for you. It's just who you are.
All right, moving right along to the second major structural difference. Number 2, systems over goals.
We have all been conditioned our entire lives to set big, ambitious goals. But here's the problem. Goals create this incredibly strict, unforgiving binary. You either succeed or you fail, and there's no in between. If you fall short, you feel defeated and you just quit. Systems, on the other hand, create a continuous process. They generate consistent results completely regardless of outcome volatility. A system seriously doesn't care if you had a bad day. It just asks you to run the process.
Let's ground this in a practical example. A goal is saying, I'm going to run a 5K. The pressure is high, the destination feels far away, and it's intimidating. A system is simply saying, I'm going to lace up my shoes and walk out the front door every single morning. That's the whole shebang. The friction is practically zero, and you get an immediate win just by executing the system. The magic of this approach is that if you focus entirely on that daily process, the outcome has absolutely no choice but to follow the system. If you're lacing up and walking out the door every day, eventually you'll walk further, then you'll jog, then you'll run. The outcome naturally takes care of itself.
I want to take 1 second here. If you're watching this explainer because you genuinely want to change something in your life, Growth Systems Daily was built for you. Every explainer is a piece of the framework. Subscribe right now so you get the next one, because you really don't want to miss how these systems compound over time.
Okay, let's look at the third and final piece of the structural puzzle. Number 3, environment over willpower.
The most common approach to change is just white-knuckling your way through temptation using pure willpower. But willpower is fundamentally finite. It is a highly unreliable resource. It gets totally derailed by a bad night of sleep, a drop in blood sugar, or just a stressful day at the office. The successful changers know this. They know they can't rely on willpower, so they restructure their environment to support them instead.
They literally engineer their surroundings so they reduce the need for willpower to almost zero. And they do it using 3 specific tactics. First, friction reduction, making the good habit incredibly easy to start. Second, default choice design, structuring your space so the healthy choice is literally the most obvious and accessible one. And third, commitment devices, locking yourself into a future action so you basically can't back out. They make doing the right thing take zero mental energy.
All right, we've broken down the frameworks. Now it's time for the handoff. Let's turn this into action with a quick 5-minute self-audit. I want you to ask yourself these 3 critical questions right now. First,
Is my goal attached to an identity I'm actively building? Second, do I have a daily system or am I just staring at a destination? And third, is my environment set up to require less willpower or more? Look at where you're at and immediately define one specific concrete action for every gap you find. Close those gaps today.
Because, listen, I really want you to internalize this absolute truth. Change is not about trying harder. The 92% try really hard every single January, and it doesn't work. True, lasting change is entirely about designing smarter. And Growth Systems Daily is the design studio.
So are you ready to stop trying and start designing? Are you ready to operate like that successful 8%? Subscribe to Growth Systems Daily. The system starts here. See you in the next explainer.